Hey, this is Steve Good on the Coin Chat with Yuri Cataldo, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Jillian Godsil. Jillian, perhaps best you introduce yourself. We've heard through the rumor mill that some people call you the queen of blockchain, or perhaps even the last queen of blockchain. And yes, we did our research to find out about this, so maybe we should start with, why do they call you the last queen of blockchain, or the last queen of blockchain in Ireland?
Well, my life has been amazing the last 2 years, and this is where it's come about. I've discovered blockchain nearly 2 years ago now, just under. And when I discovered it, I went, oh my goodness, this makes sense to me. I can make sense of the world. I can just see so much amazing things. And because I've got like 30 years of fintech experience, I just jumped right in. And between my experience and my enthusiasm, I ended up traveling the world. And that's why that's the jokey thing, the last queen of Ireland, the last queen of blockchain. So I've been chairing conferences or speaking at conferences in Kiev and Amsterdam and Oman and Sri Lanka and Dubai and London and lots of places.
How cool.
It's been amazing.
Here's an interesting question, because you know that we've had Morgan Pierce on the show on a previous episode, and we'll put a link to that up at the top of the episode. So did she get you into blockchain, or did you get her into blockchain? Or were you just friends and you met in the blockchain world?
It was the most amazing synchronicity, because we should have met years ago. We have so many friends in common in Ireland. It's phenomenal. We have really, really good friends. And we met because I had said yes to delivering a course at the start of 2017. I didn't realize it was an all-day course, like an educating course for traders. Oops, couldn't do it. I was panicking. And then someone said, you should talk to this woman, Morgan. I spoke to Morgan. The first thing I said is, can you do this course for me? And of course she can. She's an educator and she's amazing. And
no, and a marketeer. So what is she? I mean, she's not a trading person. I wouldn't have thought, but
she has done
might
some
have the skill. But yeah.
She's amazing. So, and then we discovered we have so much in common. And then and it was great because the pair of us ran at it together, and we did we did the crypto divas for a bit until she was sidetracked into a very big job in Switzerland. And so no, we're great friends, and she's amazing, and she's so smart. I love her, because if I go, I'm confused, I go to Morgan. She's so smart.
Interesting. So tell us a little bit about and so here's another, so we've got all the people that have been on our show, you seem to know them, which is really kind of funny. So you also are working with David Atkinson, who's the commercial director over at Holochain, and the two of you are working together on Block Leaders, right?
Yeah.
How did you two get together to start creating this media publication mammoth?
Well, we first of all...
Can I call it a mammoth?
Yes. Big and furry and very old.
haven't ever seen a mammoth person.
We met because actually, I can't remember exactly how, but we interviewed him on Crypto Divas when Morgan and I were doing the show together.
Yeah, because he definitely is a diva, right? Sorry, David. I mean,
oh, he is. He's one of the smartest men that I know. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by all these smart people. But I'm really impressed with him. And then we kept in contact. And then I was chairing a conference in London in the Excel on blockchain, and during London Tech Week last May, I think it was. And he said, "Oh, come and meet you." So we met, and we only spent about, I don't know, it was a very short time. It wasn't a very long time together at all, maybe an hour. But we kept on talking. And I admire him so much. He's so smart. And he gets on very well. He loves my energy. And I love writing. And he loves reading long-form journalism. And so we're a match made in heaven. So last year, was it last year? Yes. September of last year, he said, I want to found this thing. I said, yes. So we've been having an amazing time profiling all the leaders in blockchain around the world. And that's what I love. I mean, as a journalist, we mentioned before sort of recording, we mentioned Binance. I interviewed CZ last January 2017, 2018, whatever it was. And, it's such a nascent industry. And as a journalist, I can open doors that I would never do in the real world, if you like. If I want to interview the head of IBM, I'd have to be the business editor of the Irish Times. But if I were to interview CZ, he'll take my call.
Nice.
So that's so exciting, that to be so new in this area, and as a journalist, to be able to open those doors is fantastic, and do it through Block Leaders.
Yeah,
it's exciting writing that I do.
How cool.
Excellent. So how do you decide who to interview on Block Leaders, and how does that process work? Did you just kind of contact them and get it all set up?
They pay us lots of money.
Excellent.
No,
Those are the best kind of interviews.
By the way, just a disclaimer: I didn't pay them to be on the to be.
My invoice is coming in afterwards.
That's right.
Man. That's going to cost me.
Well, currently
Don't worry, my invoice for you being on our show is coming too.
Sorry, of course.
We'll net them out to zero.
Silly me. But no, how do we find them? We started off with a hit list of people we wanted to talk to, and then at the end of most of the interviews, we say, "Who do you admire the most?" So we're interviewing people that we admire, and then they say, "Well, I really admire this person or that person," and it's been kind of like organic in that sense. And sometimes friends come in, and sometimes PR companies come in, and we kind of say, do we think this person's got enough heart? Because these are really, even in this thing, they're long form journalism. And so we really have to get to the heart of the people. And so far, we will be monetizing our site at some stage. So there'll be more paid stuff, but more advertising stuff. But at the moment, it's pure.
So Julian, I'm just going to talk to you down here. I admire Yuri a lot. He's really a great guy.
I paid Steve to say that.
Yeah. You didn't hear that, Yuri. I was just like, no.
It was a whisper. It was a whisper.
Tell me, I hear you're a great guy.
I've heard things.
Well, Yuri has another podcast. Yuri has another podcast, which Yuri, we've never talked about on our show. We're into like 90 something plus episodes, and we've never told anybody this. Like it's a best kept secret. So while we're standing here talking about this, we're not going to divert too much, but what's the name of your podcast?
So also part of this, Jillian, I would like to invite you to be on my other podcast. It's called Advance Your Art. And I started it a few years ago to interview creatives about their business process. And so every week there's a new interview with people from all over. I've got Grammy Award winning musicians on there. I've interviewed Steve about his life and what he's doing.
That was funny.
It was a very good interview. So
I still can't get over the steam cleaner part of the conversation. It still lingers in my life.
Yeah. It's a very relaxed, just conversation about someone's life and career and the good parts, the bad parts, what they've learned. It really is to help the next generation of creatives find their path. So I would love for you to join me on that, and we'll talk all about your writing career and all kinds of things.
Brilliant.
We'll put the link down below for Yuri,
Yep.
and we will make sure that people know how to find it. We'll put a blog out as well on the website. So thecoinchat.net/blogs, and Yuri's going to have a little blog on there, which he doesn't write enough for our website, but he'll put a blog out there for everybody so they can find his other stuff. Isn't that nice of us?
Excellent.
So,
well, as a creative, I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Now I've got an assignment. Excellent.
Brilliant.
So with that though, Jillian, as someone who is creative, how like in a short way, the transition from what you went to school for, I know you studied writing, you're creative, to working in blockchain, like how did that evolution come about?
Well, I studied in Trinity College in Dublin. I did history and English. I majored in history. And I was hard on the milk round. I was hard on the milk round.
You know where this is going, Yuri? Where it's a sinking ship. Never bring an Irish person onto a show. You know what's going to happen. It's always
I was hard on the milk round. You know when you're hard before you graduate, by JP Morgan, to go work in London as a systems analyst. So I spent 3 years as a very bad systems analyst in London.
Wait, sorry. How did that conversation go? So you were an English major, and then JP Morgan was like, I want to hire you to be a systems analyst.
Yeah, because they were hiring from the top universities. Ireland, Trinity's one of the top universities in Ireland, if not the world. And they were doing that outreach program. And I had friends who were in the business courses. And JP Morgan had the best social night, lots of beer and wine in college. So I went along, I borrowed a suit from my mom. I went along to that. And I was so impressed with them. I filled out an application form the next day and sent it off. And I went, ooh, I do corporate finance. Ooh, will I do sales and trading? Will I do systems analysis? I know nothing about that. Let's apply. And I had done honors. I had honors maths in school, so I had obviously a certain amount of aptitude. But they even sent me back the next year to give the talk at that great social night in Trinity. So I was very good until I was found out and not being such a good programmer.
Wow.
That's amazing. Okay, so you were at JP Morgan, and then how did that go in progress?
I love that. Then I met my then husband. We went to Sydney, and I transferred from programming to PR. So I was writing about stuff. So that satisfies me in many ways. 'Cause I love writing. I love writing, whether it's a paragraph, a tweet, whatever. I love writing. So I use my skills. The fact that I was a very bad programmer meant that I could ask very good questions because I wasn't scared of like getting the wrong answers, whatever. So that helped me along the way. I went to, then we lived in Singapore for a couple of years, and I was working in fintech there again, lots more writing. And when I came home to Dublin, I then moved into more journalism at that stage, which fulfilled a certain part of it. Now I do a lot of fintech journalism, but I also do mainstream political journalism for the Irish Times and for the Irish Independent. So I've done, I've written on everything. I just love writing. I'd write about 2 flies get up a wall. I wouldn't care. Just like, let me write.
Yuri, it sounds like we found someone to write our blogs for us. Maybe even the blog for you that you need to write.
Right, exactly. Or if nothing else, we should talk more about just your writing process and how that separately and how that works, because I'm always interested in how to become a better and more efficient writer.
Yeah. So that's how it came together. And then when I met blockchain, my passion exploded because the technology is so fascinating. It's so varied. It's not like, I'd worked in fintech before, so I knew about, cloud computing or whatever, the fast, quantum, all exciting stuff. But blockchain is, oh my goodness, take off your pants exciting. It's just so amazing. And then I also love the fact that it's so, actually, I don't know where that statement came from.
I love your turn of phrase.
Please leave your trousers on.
I think I made that up.
Take off your pants.
If it's in England, if you take off your pants.
I know
it's really, really like going too far.
We can all do it now. It'll be safe. We'll be safe. But then
I'm not wearing my pants, don't worry. But you can see my pocket square. I put a nice red pocket square for you today.
And then I also love the whole disruptive nature stuff, the disintermediary stuff. That's amazing. And then I love that most people in this space want to make the world a better place. I love that. That is so exciting. That is like amazing.
Yeah.
So, and should I just give you the 5-minute thing about why I got into blockchain? Just really, really the pre to that. Do I have time to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Very, very briefly. I had an ordinary life. Very nice, married, kids, big house down the country, corporate career, had my own business, and then it all fell apart, marriage and recession at the same time, 2008. So big house, big mortgage. Ex went back to the UK, became bankrupt. I gave all the debt to myself and our 2 children. So I moved the kids out of the house. This is I pointed. I moved the kids out of the house to a little cottage because we had ponies and I couldn't afford the house and the livery. So we had tiny cottage and ponies. And then I rented out the house. And then the drug squad evicted my tenants because it was a grow house and I couldn't rent my house out anymore.
Oh no.
I made a video to sell my house and it went viral and then I went viral. And I ended up being sort of the face of austerity in Ireland in 2010, 2011, because we had the Celtic Tiger and then we had the crash. And then I got a cash offer of someone to buy my house for 500,000, but the mortgage was 800,000. So the banks refused consent to sell. They preferred to repossess and sell it the following year for 165. Made no sense. By then I was a bit of an activist because the banks had this narrative that said that people are gaming the system and moral hazard. And I went, you can fail for any number of reasons. And you're not gaming, no one games the system with a family home. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so I became, and a lot of people were committing suicide. And I thought I have to change this. This is wrong, wrong, wrong. And when the banks repossessed my home, I became the first female bankrupt in Ireland under the new laws. And then I realized I wasn't allowed to run for public office. And I went, excuse me, I did nothing wrong by failing financially. So I brought the Irish government to the High Court and the Supreme Court to argue that my constitutional rights were being infringed because as a bankrupt, I should still be allowed to run for public office. And I was successful. So I changed the law. And then I ran in 2014 in the European parliamentary elections. I got 11,500 votes, not enough to get elected, but enough to feel I'd done the, pure heart type stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then everything went quiet and everything went dead and I had still no money and I had no home and I was still on the social, I couldn't get a job and I was homeless for a bit and crazy. And then I met blockchain. Can you see why I like blockchain?
And that's why you became the last queen of blockchain as well.
Because I just see it changing. I went for the first time. And the other thing that I love too as well, which I love this bit. When I tried to get work after the elections, whatever, I was 50. And I could not get work for love nor money because being a woman, being self-employed and being 50, there was no job. I couldn't even get interviews. And then when I discovered blockchain, I discovered that being a woman in her 50s is advantageous. So for the first time in my career, my age and my gender is a positive. I love that.
That's so cool.
That's great.
So, and how did that end? So carrying on this story, how did this end up leading to you becoming a part of EOS? And tell us about what you're doing for EOS and what that relationship is and what you're doing with them.
EOS Dublin.
That's kind of, it's like an unsung story. You don't really tell people that much about it, but maybe we'd like to know.
Yeah, well, I love EOS. I met them last year. I was at a Blockchain Ireland. There's a group that's run by semi-government bodies and interested people, whatever. And I was at the meeting and I told my story, again, about why I love blockchain. And I sort of really getting into it at that stage. I was writing for CryptoCoin News and doing all stuff, whatever. And Sharif Bouktale, who is the CEO, came up to me and said, "You join our team." And I said, "Who are you?" He said, "EOS Dublin." I said, "What's that?" And I said, discovered EOS is a really, really lovely product. There's a couple of products I really, really like. EOS I really, really like because the community is so nice. It's a governed blockchain, as you know. And
yeah.
I know sometimes it's like the Game of Thrones in there, and it's a bit, the what do you call it? The something proof of stake, the delegated proof of stake. So sometimes it can be a bit tricky at times, and it's not always easy to be outside the top 21. I get that. But what I love is, as a block producer, Dublin has to do things. So they create content, they create courses. I do a weekly podcast for them, and we talk to different people. And it's really, really, it's interesting. I like the people, and I've interviewed so many people on that EOS podcast, and they're all doing, again, that I want to make the world a better place stuff. And I'm going, wow, it's all about democratizing access to education, to finance, to property, to you name it. Saving rhinos in Africa through identity. And then saving kids afterwards. So there's so many good stories that have come out of that community.
Wow.
I really, really like it.
Mm. Yeah, that's great.
We're not hearing those stories, to be honest. I think they need to hire Morgan Pierce to help them with their marketing.
I think so. I might promote my podcast more then.
Definitely. Yeah, we hear more of the controversial things, let's say.
Indeed. Yes,
Indeed.
we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these kinds of stories aren't coming out. So that's really cool. So what do you see as kind of the future in terms of what you're doing with EOS and where they're going and what you're going to do with them?
Well, we're going over to London next week to a meetup with SVK Crypto. They're the mad guys who have our they're totally blockchain, all about community. Shane Keogh, or Kehoe, I think as they call him in the UK, he has got a $50 million fund from Block One to fund EOS projects. So they're very active in that space. So they're doing a meetup, going over there with Sharif. And we're going to do some other stuff there too as well. So that's just next week. But I'm hoping with the EOS, EOS is also launching a Europe chain, which is a GDPR compliant chain, looking at, obviously, companies looking at working in Europe, in the EU, have to have the GDPR. Although I understand that California produced a similar rule recently, so it's going to be global regardless. People are going to have to look after their
Yeah, they are. Actually, everybody in the States, as a corporate company in the States, you have to be GDPR compliant.
Yeah. So it's coming fast. So that's a product we're launching with a group of other EOS producers. And the nice thing is that what they're saying is it's GDPR compliant. You can be invoiced in fiat. These guys, you can go to their offices. They're real people. They will, they'll set up a couple of nodes or a full node, depending on a full blockchain, depending on what you need. So it's a really nice commercial approach to getting people on board when they need blockchains. That'll be kind of fun. And there's also lots of other projects, crypto horses or something. I'm doing a project because I've got some rescue horses that they need a home, they need some land, and I've got nothing. Yeah. So we're looking at doing something like crypto kitties, but with horses, maybe to raise money for these rescue horses. Yeah,
that's really cool.
That's really cool.
There's lots of things happening. There's all bubbling away, and you know how they are. Like sometimes ooh, and then sometimes ooh, like spinning plates.
Yes.
Well, it just goes to show you that, whatever happens in our lives, we all have things that we can label as failures or as lessons learned. But what I think is amazing is how you've just bounced back from, the adversity in your life that happened, because, we all have two choices. We can either bounce back and do something and be greater than we were from what we learned, or we can just stay miserable and depressed and do nothing and say the world is against us and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all had those challenges in our lives. It's just amazing to hear what you've turned it into,
The nice thing is that my story is not unique, but I happen to be in the place and a time that I became the public face of it. It was kind of crazy. And I'm happy. I'm sorry, my clock is bonging in the background.
Well, it's ringing the truth in right here, It's
It is.
Couldn't be more true what you just said, because the clock says so.
but people all have troubles and travails. You don't live if you have no troubles and travails. And it's there's a story that you picked up all your troubles and you're into a circle. And everybody had their troubles too, and you all put your troubles down in front of you. Then you look to the left and the right of you. you'd probably say, do you know what? I'll hang on to my own troubles. They're not as difficult as yours. And that's, we all have that.
That's for sure. And as long as you own your own problems, you can solve them, but you can't really own someone else's.
That's true as well. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Is there anything else, Yuri, that you'd like to ask? Because I know it's kind of getting toward end of time here. So.
No, I'm good right now. Thank you so much, Jillian. This has been an absolute pleasure.
It's been fun. I want to do this every week.
Well, we're doing it every week.
That's right.
Let's have 4. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have to talk to you about the book we've been writing too. Since you're a writer and you love writing, maybe you should have a read and give us some feedback too. That's
absolutely, and I can tell you the books that I've been writing.
Yeah, well, that's for Yuri's podcast. For Yuri's podcast,
okay.
You can have
yeah, we'll go into that in great detail.
That's a secret.
Yeah,
that's a secret.
Well, that's a good cliffhanger, because now if people want to check out who you are, we're going to put a link down below for your to LinkedIn, and any other links that you've got, we'll share. And of course, we'll put those in the blog that goes out of the website, so people can discover all the other goodies and interesting things about you, which probably don't go on a PG or G-rated show.
Oh, no, I think it's much more important we talk about these things.
Oh, well, we're not hiding it. We'll put the links out there for you so everyone can find out all the other dirt they need to know.
Oh, dear.
Jillian, thank you very much for joining us today. It's really been fun.
Very fun.
Thanks, everybody, for listening in on our podcast channel. We will make sure that we put some information out on our blogs up on our website, thecoinchat.net/blogs. So you can check out the additional details that you may not find in YouTube. And for those of you watching on YouTube, just give us a subscribe and a like, because Jillian is the queen of blockchain. She's not the former queen of blockchain. She's not the last queen of blockchain, because she is the queen of blockchain. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching To the Moon. Until next time.
Brilliant. Thank you.